Let's get right into it. Number 10, sudden tongue awareness. At some point today, your tongue was doing its job perfectly, moving, swallowing, staying out of the way. Then your brain noticed it. And now it's like, wait, am I holding this correctly? You start manually positioning it, pressing it against your teeth, letting it float. None of these feel correct anymore. You've lost the muscle memory for something you've done nonstop since infancy. Incredible. This happens because your brain is usually on autopilot with bodily functions, breathing, blinking, swallowing. These are handled by background processes, like tabs you forgot were open. But when attention suddenly shines a spotlight on one of them, the system glitches. Conscious control steps in where it absolutely does not belong. Psychologically, this is called hyper-awareness, and it's your brain's version of micromanaging. The same thing happens when someone says, "You're breathing manually now." Boom, ruined. Or when you become aware of blinking or walking or existing. The wild part is that nothing is actually wrong. Your tongue hasn't changed. Your brain just stopped trusting itself. It's like firing a perfectly good employee because you suddenly watched them work too closely. And this is harmless, annoying but harmless, which is important because later on we'll talk about what happens when your brain does the same thing, but with fear. That one's less cute. Basically, your mind interrupted a flawless system just to ask, but what if? Your tongue didn't fail you. Your brain just got bored. Number 9, laughing at the worst possible moment. You're at a funeral or a serious meeting, or someone is telling you devastating news, and suddenly, deep in your chest, a laugh starts inflating like a balloon. You bite your lip, you look down, you think of something sad, but your brain thinks this is hilarious. This is known as inappropriate affect. And no, it doesn't mean you're a bad person or secretly evil. It means your emotional regulation system just tripped over its own shoelaces. Here's what's happening. Intense emotional pressure, stress, grief, fear, overloads your nervous system. And when that happens, the brain sometimes hits the wrong release valve. Laughter and crying are processed right next to each other neurologically. Same hallway, different doors. So instead of crying, your brain accidentally honks the laugh horn. It's the emotional equivalent of sneezing during a serious conversation. Your nervous system is screaming too much input, and laughter is the quickest exit. And the more you try to stop it, the worse it gets, because now you're stressed about laughing, which adds more pressure, which demands more release. Later on, we'll see the same mechanism show up in a much darker way when the brain doesn't just misfire socially, but convinces you something terrible is about to happen for absolutely no reason. For now, just know this. Your brain wasn't laughing at the moment. It was laughing to survive it. Number 8, the urge to jump. You're standing on a balcony, or near a cliff, or on a subway platform, and out of nowhere, a thought appears. What if I jumped? Not because you want to, not because you're sad, just because the idea showed up uninvited. Congratulations again, you've met the call of the void. This is one of the most misunderstood human thoughts, and psychology still argues about it at family dinners. But here's the best explanation we have. Your brain is constantly running safety simulations. When you're near danger, it flashes possible outcomes, falling, slipping, dying as warnings. But sometimes that warning gets translated into language incorrectly. Instead of "be careful or you could fall," it becomes "what if you jumped?" It's not a desire, it's a mislabeled alarm. The proof? People who experience this are often the least suicidal. Their brains are actually very invested in staying alive. They're just aggressively pointing out hazards like an overprotective parent yelling, "Don't touch that," every 5 seconds. This ties into something much more disturbing we'll get to later, when the brain doesn't just simulate danger, but becomes obsessed with it. For now, remember, the thought isn't the wish. It's your survival system shouting through a broken megaphone. Your brain didn't want you to jump. It wanted you to step back. Number 7, phantom phone vibrations. You feel it. In your pocket, a buzz, a vibration, a message. You check your phone. Nothing. No notification, no missed call, not even a spam email trying to sell you crypto. And yet, you felt it, clear as day. This is called phantom vibration syndrome, and it's your nervous system embarrassing itself in public. Your brain is a prediction engine. It doesn't wait for reality, it guesses first, then checks the answer. And because you check your phone dozens, maybe hundreds of times a day, your brain starts expecting vibrations the way Pavlov's dog expected food. Neurons that fire together wire together. So now any random muscle twitch, fabric shift, or pressure change near your thigh gets interpreted as phone. It's not hallucination, it's overtraining. Your sensory cortex is so eager to be helpful that it fills in the blanks, like autocorrect, but for reality. And just like autocorrect, it is confidently wrong. What's fascinating is that this still happens even after people stop carrying phones in their pockets. The brain doesn't immediately update the software. It keeps running the old program like a ghost app. And this is important because later we'll see what happens when the brain does this not with phones, but with threats. Basically, your nervous system is checking notifications that don't exist because silence feels suspicious. Your phone didn't vibrate. Your brain just couldn't handle the peace. Number 6. Forgetting a common word mid-sentence. You're talking, confident, mid-story, then suddenly you hit a blank. You know the word, you feel the word, it's right there. It starts with something, maybe a B or a T. It has vibes, but it will not come out. This is lethalogica, better known as tip of the tongue syndrome, which is cruel because the word you need is literally stranded on your tongue's mental island. What's happening is not memory loss. The word still exists in your brain. You just can't access the pathway to it. Think of your memory like a massive filing system where someone changed the labels but left the documents intact. Stress makes this worse. Social pressure makes it worse. The moment you say, "Oh, what's the word?" your brain panics and locks the door. That's because retrieval requires relaxed neural firing. Panic floods the system with cortisol, which tells your brain now is not the time for poetry. And then hours later in the shower or while brushing your teeth, it pops up effortlessly because your brain finally stopped trying. This is another preview of something darker coming up, when the brain's pressure system doesn't just block words, but blocks logic itself. For now, enjoy the irony. You didn't forget the word, you scared it away. Number 5. Smiling when you're miserable. You're exhausted, burnt out, possibly spiraling. Someone asks, "How are you?" And your face goes, smiley. Your mouth says, "Good." Why? This is social mirroring, and your brain does it automatically to avoid friction. Long before language, humans survived by signaling safety to others. A neutral or pleasant expression meant, "I am not a threat, please don't exile me." So even when you're internally collapsing, your face performs customer service. The prefrontal cortex knows you're not okay, but the social brain doesn't care. It just wants smooth interaction. No conflict, no awkwardness, no emotional paperwork. This is also why people laugh at jokes they don't find funny, nod during conversations they didn't hear, and say "no worries" while very much having worries. And here's the twist. Smiling can actually feed back into your mood. Facial muscles send signals upward, sometimes slightly improving how you feel, which is why this behavior persists. It occasionally works. But over time, constantly masking emotion trains your brain to suppress internal signals. And later, much later, that suppression can resurface as anxiety, panic, or unexplained dread. We'll get to that. For now, remember, you weren't lying when you smiled. Your brain was just prioritizing survival over honesty. Number 4. The sudden memory cringe attack. You're brushing your teeth, or driving, or trying to fall asleep. And then, bam! A memory from 10 years ago punches you in the face. Something you said, something you did, something that wasn't even that bad but now feels legally humiliating. Your body reacts instantly. You wince, you groan, you physically recoil like you just touched a hot stove. Why does your brain do this? Because it thinks it's helping. This is called retrospective social pain, and it's tied to the same neural circuits as physical pain. Your brain replays embarrassing memories as a way to say, "Don't ever do that again." The problem is, the lesson was already learned a decade ago, repeatedly, aggressively. But your brain doesn't care about timing, it cares about pattern correction. And when the mind is idle, no tasks, no distractions, it starts scanning old data for threats. Social mistakes count as threats because historically rejection meant death. No tribe, no survival. So your brain drags up ancient cringe to remind you how fragile your social standing used to be. Even worse, The more emotionally you react, the stronger the memory gets reconsolidated, meaning every cringe attack slightly upgrades the memory's resolution. HD embarrassment, director's cut. Later, this same loop will appear again, but instead of memories, it will replay imagined futures, and that's when things get nasty. For now, know this. Your brain isn't punishing you. It's desperately trying to keep you socially alive in a world that moved on. Number 3. Overthinking after social interactions. You leave a conversation. It seemed fine, normal, pleasant even. Then your brain presses rewind. Why did I say that? Did they pause weirdly? Was my tone off? Did I talk too much? Too little? Do they hate me now? This is post-event rumination, and it's your mind running a background audit no one asked for. Social interactions are complex. Hundreds of microsignals, expressions, pauses, and tones fly by in seconds. Your brain can't process them all in real time, so afterward it tries to reconstruct the event. But here's the catch. Reconstruction isn't replay, it's imagination. Your brain fills gaps using fear, not facts. Ambiguity becomes danger. Neutral expressions become negative judgments. Silence becomes condemnation. And because the brain hates uncertainty more than bad news, it chooses the worst possible interpretation just to close the loop. This is why reassurance rarely works. You can tell yourself, it was fine, but your brain says, yes, but what if it wasn't? This mechanism evolved to help us improve socially, but in modern life, where interactions don't determine survival, it turns into mental self-harm with excellent memory recall. And coming up next is the most extreme version of this pattern, where the brain doesn't just analyze the past, but starts inventing threats in the present. Stay with me. Number 2. Anxiety with no obvious cause. Nothing is wrong, objectively, logically, statistically. And yet your chest is tight, your heart is racing, your thoughts feel sharp, your body is braced for impact. Welcome to free-floating anxiety, fear without a headline. This happens when your brain's threat detection system activates before your conscious mind can assign it a reason. The amygdala hits the alarm, adrenaline releases, cortisol spikes, and then the thinking brain wakes up and goes, "Why are we panicking?" When it can't find an answer, it makes one. That's why anxiety latches on to random things. Health, money, relationships, that weird pain in your side, your future, the past, the heat death of the universe. The fear came first. The explanation is improvised. This is the dark mirror of earlier behaviors, the phantom vibration, the urge to jump, the cringe memory. Same system, higher volume. Your brain evolved to keep you alive in a dangerous world, but when the world is quiet, it assumes it's missing something. So it creates danger rather than risk being unprepared. And that leads us to the final one, the behavior that makes people say, "I feel like I'm going crazy," even though they're not. Number 1, doubting your own thoughts. You have a thought. Then immediately another thought appears, questioning it. Why did I think that? What if that means something about me? Normal people don't think this, right? Now you're not just thinking, you're monitoring the thinking. This is meta-cognition overload, and it's where your brain turns into a full-time surveillance system pointed at itself. Thoughts are supposed to be transient, random, meaningless sparks generated by neural noise, memory fragments, and imagination. But once the brain starts assigning importance to them, they stop passing through. Instead of, "that was a weird thought," it becomes, "why did my brain generate that thought?" And then, what if having that thought makes me dangerous, broken, or wrong? Here's the key. Science check. Having a thought does not equal wanting, believing, or acting on it. The brain generates thousands of thoughts a day. Most are discarded automatically. But when anxiety enters the system, the brain's filtering mechanism weakens. Irrelevant thoughts slip through. And the more you analyze them, the more real they feel. This is why trying to suppress thoughts backfires. Suppression flags the thought as important. The brain says, "Oh, this matters, I'll keep it." So now you're stuck in a loop. Think, analyze, fear. Analyze the fear, think harder. And here's the most unsettling part. This loop is powered by the same mechanism that once helped us reflect, plan, and imagine. Self-awareness just went too far. The brain didn't break, it overdid its job. And when you step back and look at everything we covered, from tongue awareness to phantom vibrations to anxiety without cause, it's all the same pattern. Your brain hates uncertainty. It hates silence. It hates letting things be. So when there's nothing to fix, it fixes you. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.